want to ground ourselves in an article that was written on January 27th of 2021. It was an article in Food Navigator magazine, which talked about Ben & Jerry's. We all know Ben & Jerry's. We all love ice cream, and Ben & Jerry's is probably the one of the best names in ice cream. But this article centered on the scale of global cocoa as a commodity. And it started off by saying that cocoa, the commodity of cocoa, has a market value of $73 billion. And Ben & Jerry's wanted to make sure that from their perspective, there was fair trade, there was traceability, there was a living wage, there was a determinant on what was impact and what was an equitable way of sort of navigating the plane of having cocoa, distributing cocoa, moving cocoa from the source to embedding it in their product, because all of this had a determinant on the value of their product in the consumer's hands and the value of their impact, standard of impact in the world. And so they went out and they have gone out based on their value to ensure that everything that they source, that everything that goes into our body, that everything that has a mandate around what Ben & Jerry stand for is in good order, is in the right place. And why is this important? It is because as we think about supply chain, and we think about logistics, and we think about manufacturing, we think about distribution, and as we think about all these things as sort of Black founders and entrepreneurs leveraging technology to move things from where we create to the person that uses that product, whether it be the corporation, whether it be a consumer, so on and so forth. It is important that we are thinking about the value of the supply chain, how we go about moving our values through the supply chain as a license to revolutionize the world in which we are trying to create with the companies that we are ultimately trying to build. As we think about cocoa, the texture of cocoa, the color of cocoa, you can't help but think about Black skin, the Black skin of entrepreneurs, the Black skin of venture capitalists in the space, the Black skin that is utilizing capital to build their startups, to move about, to start things, to build anew, such that we can have our own economic traceability, our own economic freedom, our own move up the ladder of success. And when I think about all of this, I can't help but also think about the $1 trillion of market value that African Americans, that Black people across the diaspora inject into the economy, particularly in the US. I can't think about the living wages that we all want, the economic traceability that we all want, the injustice that we often see as we try to build startups, as we try to make things, and even from a venture capital perspective, as we try to raise funds and seeking. It started with George Floyd. George Floyd's death sent shockwaves through the economy. It sent shockwaves through all of our corporations. It sent shockwaves through foundations and institutions, and even through us about what is it that we're doing to ensure that all the economic mobility that has gone to other people for so many years actually trickles back to us, such that we can have traceability and visibility in our own supply chain. And I think it's important to understand as we think about Ben & Jerry's, a company that has prided itself on social enterprise and being one of the most heralded social enterprises in our nation and really in the world. And then as we see corporations now who, because of COVID and because of the death of George Floyd, have taken a different stance, who are providing spaces for us now, who are injecting money into our VC funds, and that money that has been injected into our venture capital funds is now being injected into our startups and our Black entrepreneurs. And that is a good thing. We also have to understand the supply chain on how we got there, the supply chain of freedom. And sometimes, just like the cocoa that is sourced from many different places, where the people that are sort of mining that cocoa, planting that cocoa, have been exploited. Many of them children, young adults, and women who live in very depressed economies. How do we move from brokenness to wholeness as a cunning adventure to sort of take back everything that has been so entrenched and everything that has really set many different odds against us as we try to move through the cycle of our own individual supply chains to become entrepreneurs, to become fund managers, to become better, to build about our own economic freedom. We have to understand how we got here. And I want to get across today that as we try to move about our own supply chain of freedom, as we try to license and create creative license to revolutionize our world, that we don't forget the expectation of what has taken place, but also the opportunity that then takes place based on that. And all of us leverage the opportunity that we now have to move forward and create a better world for ourselves. So to all of us as Black founders, as Black fund managers, let's remember that we have the supply chain of freedom and a license to revolutionize our own world. And freedom is at the very crux of that.
Just one question I have for you, if you could just talk about your pricing model a little bit more for the people in the audience.
Yeah, so we are a SaaS platform that charges per supplier per month or annual contract. And we decided to do per supplier instead of per seat or per data consumption because we wanted to make sure that we had a limited data sources that you have access to, a limited teams that are influencing or making purchases, and because we give you real-time data on all of the companies that you're currently working with or considering to work with. We wanted to charge per supplier that as you grow and your supplier list grows, we're able to grow with you.
So Rios is a VC-backed startup company in Silicon Valley. We are headquartered in Palo Alto. We raised $10 million. Investors are actually still pouring money. So as a technology business, we provide what we call factory automation as a service. So we are helping global customers automate their factories, warehouses, and supply chain operations by deploying a new class of next generation robots, which we call dexterous AI-powered robots. So we have multi-billion dollar contracts from customers, and we have real robots in production as it stands now. So we're a full service robotics and engineering firm. We provide to customers what we call a one-stop shop solution. So we tell customers that we can automate individual assembly lines, and we can go as far as providing a lights out factory by partnering with other systems integrators. Lights out factory means full automation.
Our solution is simple. We create great tools that maximizes the efficiency of the delivery driver. It translates into greater profits. It also leads to a cheaper delivery for the customer that then goes back to the retailer for repeat business. The driver's unique responsibility of providing happiness at both ends is what drives us to create better tools to help motivate.
The biggest thing a lot of founders, particularly of color, that we see struggle with is like understanding what is venture. You know, when I get into this game, like what does that mean? What are people expecting of me? I think that's really important. Like you want to make sure you have venture founder alignment.
I would also just add too, especially if you're looking at building a company in a specific sector like supply chain and logistics, not only targeting the VCs, but talking to other entrepreneurs in the space. One thing about this world is that it's smaller than you might think. And so entrepreneurs talk to entrepreneurs, investors talk to investors. And so even if the person that you're reaching out to or speaking with might not be the perfect, refer you to someone else within their network. That happens all the time, I think, within the VC world and also the founder community.
A lot of people love Black entrepreneurs now, and so there's much more visibility, and it's going to take a lot of digging. But I think, as Henri said, like make sure to do your research beforehand, because reaching out to venture capitalists where there is no fit really could just be a waste of time. And entrepreneurs, the one things that they lack are money and time. And so make sure to do your research.